up in the sky. Look, it's captivating. It's energizing. It's Eliances Heroes. Eliances is the destination for entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, inventors, leaders, celebrities, and startups, where our heroes in business align. Now, here's your host flying in, David Kogan, founder of Eliances.
That's right. I don't drive. I just flying in with so much energy because it is the people that I have the lifetime opportunity to interview and ask questions that you want to ask them to better service yourself, your business, personally, professionally, and everything else. And I couldn't be more excited. And by the way, before we get into our next hero today, thank you again for the feedback we continue to get when I had the former CEO of Apple on. So please make sure that you go to Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com. Why? Because it is the only place where entrepreneurs align. Okay, so what does the former president and CEO of Gerber Baby have? Well, that's who I'm going to be interviewing next. And he's got an incredible career and continues to build and build and build because he was also Chief Global Commercial Officer for Wyeth Nutrition Company, held significant roles at Conagra Brands, General Mills, and more. And he is now building CradleMyPet.com. You'll see the information in the link, and of course, we'll have it on our website. And those that are you listening on AM and FM, Kradle, mypet.com. Welcome to the show, Bill Partyka.
Well, thank you very much for having me, David. I am so happy to be here.
All right. So, Bill, first thing is, and for our viewers that are watching and listening, I got something in your background that completely stands out. It is so cool. It's a huge poster. It's of the dog and that. So we're going to jump into why do you have that poster behind you? What's the significance of that?
Well, I'm working for a company right now that is totally committed to ensure that their pets get off to the best start possible in life. You know, we really focus on dogs right now, particularly delivering solutions in the CBD space. But there are a number of applications that go across all species, like cats also.
All right. And we're going to dive in a little bit later, definitely into the company now that you're building and that. So how is it like? I mean, like your career, you've held such significant roles. And I mean, I think almost everybody in the world, right, has heard of Gerber Baby Foods.
Well, Gerber Baby Foods has about 85% of the penetration for all the babies in the U.S. So very popular brand. It's a 90-year-old family-owned brand that comes from Fremont, Michigan. So in the baby space, it's ubiquitous, but I've also seen the similarities between the needs of babies and the needs of pets alike.
Wow. And how did that come to be where you became the CEO of the company?
A lot of classical training. I cut my teeth here. I'm back in Minneapolis right now. I worked for General Mills, which trained some of the best commercial leaders in the country. And I just progressed over a number of years, eventually selling a company to Nestle, the world's largest consumer foods company. And I eventually took the role of CEO of the Gerber Baby Food Company.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. How long did you work for them?
For about 10 years.
Okay. All right. So then what happened? I mean, we want to find out about kind of your whole path of where you got to where you are now. So after that, you ended up doing what? Or did you jump into the next, or what took place?
Well, my career has always been in large scale, fast moving consumer goods. Very rewarding career at every company that I'd worked for. But I always knew that I wanted to do something more entrepreneurial. And the opportunity here at the Cradle Pet Comfort Company became available, and I jumped into it, and it's been a great experience.
Well, that's fantastic. And then you moved on to, you had experience with other companies. I guess what we're trying to find out, and I know what our audience wants to know is what's the secret skill thing that you've brought over, one that got you into the door and that you've led and been so successful in your past businesses, that trait that you have?
Yeah, from my point of view, I've always come from a heavy analytical background. I cut my teeth in corporate America in corporate finance. And I moved into a commercial role where I could apply the disciplines around corporate finance into a commercial leader's experience. And I had noticed that there were a lot of commercial leaders that were really inspirational. They could lead an organization, but they weren't always making the best business decision to create value. And that's how I differentiated myself. I always say it's important to create your own brand early in your career. And then you start to practice that, and eventually you become that person. And I was always defined as a value creator. So that was my point of difference.
Excellent. As a value creator, and you're definitely creating value on this show. And I have got the opportunity to be able to interview you because you're listening, watching to me, David Kogan, host of the Eliances Hero Show. Make sure, again, you go to Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com. We have with us again Bill Partyka, former president and CEO of Gerber Baby. That's right. And now we're going to talk about what he is doing next, which is CradleMyPet.com. Once again, you could reach it at KRADLE, mypet.com. All right. So how did this come to be? You know, your career has been in just a variety of different businesses, and now you're with Cradle My Pet. What was the lure to want to work and build that company?
Yeah, the lure was having worked in baby for such an extended period of time, about 15 years. I really gained an appreciation for how you define how a baby develops. And I started to realize there are definitely analogs with the same way a pet will develop in their lifetime. The difference between a baby and a pet is a baby, for those of you who have had kids at home, a baby is a baby for about 2.5 years. And then they become, in their mind, young adults. A pet is going to be a pet your entire life. They are there to provide love. They require you to take care of them every single day. So this idea of maximizing the value of your business over the journey of a pet, it was really appealing to me, and I wanted to do it in a smaller company.
So, Bill, you've got it's CBD that's in the pet products?
It is one of the fastest growing trends we're seeing in consumer products right now is the emergence of CBD. And CBD has a number of therapeutic benefits that are still being understood in the marketplace. So obviously in pets, CBD tends to be used for reducing anxiety in pets, but it's also a great reducer of inflammation. It reduces pain. It's a great product to support the development of a strong skin and coat, particularly for dogs. There's a huge area of application that's emerging in the marketplace, which is a tremendous growth area.
And are there any plans to go into other pets like cats and that?
We will be going into a number of different species. Cats would be the next logical move. We really want to make sure that we become the masters of dogs, and then we'll start to make that transition within the company.
Wow. Now, from what I understand too in our research is that Cradle My Pet was also on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
We do. Ellen has been a huge advocate both for rescue pets that deal with a lot of anxiety as they're going through their transition to the shelter and eventually to their forever homes. And Cradle and Ellen, and I don't know if you know this, but all of her pets, I think, have all been rescued. So she understands the needs of pets. And because our company stands for reducing that anxiety as the pet is held in a shelter and eventually makes it to their new family, there was just a great harmonious opportunity to partner with her to deliver our message.
Yeah. And Bill, just curious, do you have any dogs?
I do. I have 2 dogs, 2 black labs. One is extremely anxious, so she likes the company I work for now.
And do you serve your dogs Cradle My Pet?
I absolutely do every day.
Nice. And so of the ones, tell me a little bit about the different types of products that are out there. You said CBD is one of the ingredients. What are other ingredients there that consumers should know about? And then what differentiates it? Because I imagine that there are other ones that also have CBD out there and non-CBD. So how does yours differentiate from it?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a couple different segments within the category. First of all, most of the solutions in this category right now are actually pharmaceutical products. And any consumer that has put their pet on pharmaceuticals, They, first of all, they realize they work extremely well. Actually, they work too well. They tend to make a dog kind of catatonic. So an anxious dog, you start to lose their personality. They lay around the house all day and they really almost become zombie-like. So as we started to look at the insight of today and tomorrow's pet consumers, millennials and Generation Zs, their pet ownership is at highly increasing rates. A lot of it has to do with COVID. And what they realize is it's great to have a pet in the house, but when they leave, there are things like separation anxiety, et cetera, and they're looking for natural solutions to help address those problems. CBD is very effective in addressing those issues. And then there are other botanicals that are also natural that we engineer into our products just to make sure that we are differentiated in the marketplace. And we deliver those in really easy to use solutions. So they're familiar to the consumer and they know how to use them.
You know, it says that some people treat their pets better than they treat their children.
Some would say that.
I mean, you know, I think it's too just the study behind of people who have pets and what it does, you know, for them psychologically, physically. It's yeah, it's just the studies out there and just how they're, you know, help with emotions and soothing and yeah. So quite incredible again what you're doing. How did it lead though? I mean, how did you even find out, or how did they come to you, or kind of where was that? Where did it come to be?
Yeah, the company was moving into its next stage of growth, and they really wanted to bring in kind of a tested executive leader to help them make that next transition. You'll see us showing up in some pretty large scale retailers in the next couple of months, and that the requirements of the organization to perform once you start to penetrate, you know, big box retail, it's just a different business than a small boutique, more entrepreneurial business. So that's why I'm here and I'm pleased.
Right. And extremely competitive and really almost right whatever product you've got, almost whatever product you have, trying to get into those. Um, what as far as like building companies, because again, you've been very successful, led multi-gazillion dollar type companies with, I mean, God knows how many employees in that. Uh, what's kind of that fundamental sauce of staff? Because especially now with the environment, although it's always been, I think now it's just more in the news, it's always been difficult finding the gems to be able to help that want to follow the vision of what the company is. How do you build? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think there are a couple components of it. First of all, the CBD pet space is uniquely uh, this generation. So millennials right now have brought pets into their house, and now they're trying to deal with the awesome responsibility of having a pet in the house. So the personal dynamic with pets and the space and CBD makes it very attractive for millennials. The other thing is having worked in a small company. You're right. I've run some really large companies. You know, thousands of employees. When you're dealing with limited resources, it is actually a good opportunity to change the way people work. If you have thousands of people to rely on to get something done, I used to think it was very difficult, but it's actually much easier than when you're dealing with a handful of highly motivated colleagues where there's blurring of the lines functionally. And I've come in recently, we've kind of sat down and looked at our structure and said, what are our requirements? Who needs to be doing what and when, just to clarify what the right accountabilities are in the organization. And ultimately, I don't care if you're working for a big company or if you're working for a small company, everyone has to be totally inspired around the single-minded proposition of what you want to deliver to the marketplace.
And what's the best way you think with children now, you know, that want to be able to make their mark, perhaps work for large organizations like you have as the, you know, former CEO of Gerber Baby and held other executives and now building another company that's going to be probably, you know, well known. What kind of secrets can you share that perhaps either parents that are listening now or You know, we have all age groups that listen to our shows, high school on up, and that of what they can do. What do they need, and how do you get inspired? How do you find that inspiration?
Yeah, for the next generation, I would say you need to do a couple things. First of all, when you're getting education, focus on your technical skills. I have met a lot of, I continue to do a lot of mentoring, and I have seen kids in university with not a clear definition of what they're trying to accomplish with their academic training. And I think it's really important to say, for me to achieve this, I need to get this skill today so I can build on that into the future. The second thing, and it sounds easy, but it's harder than you think. You have to create a personal brand early. I have seen people that look at senior leaders and they say, I want to be him or I want to be her. Well, they didn't become him or her without a lot of practice. And what they practiced was, in their mind, a definition of who they wanted to be. Nobody is ever a brand until you practice it and consistently deliver that proposition to the marketplace day in and day out. And then the third thing I would say is you really have to focus on the granularity of execution. It's easy to have a big idea, but if it doesn't get executed, it's irrelevant from a business leader's perspective. So, to me, the skill set, the branding, and then emphasizing delivering what you say is really important to do early in your career.
Well, Bill, you have definitely built your personal brand. You've made an impact in several markets, even again, as former CEO of Gerber Baby, now working to improve the health and well-being for our furry friends. Bill Partyka, now working with CradleMyPet.com. Make sure you go to CradleMyPet.com. That's a hero, building companies, employing others, and most importantly, helping our loved ones, our furry friends. Thank you so much again, Bill Partyka, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Got to dance a little.